And we will go ahead and get started. So firstly, Stacy was going to talk a little bit about CNCS and the Ohio State Office. And I think you probably got a little bit about that on Wednesday if you were with us. Basically, CNCS is the government agency that administers the AmeriCorps VISTA program. So NeighborWorks America partners with CNCS to offer this opportunity to all of you. And there's a lot more I could go on about that, but I really want to stay focused on recruitment this afternoon. So we're just going to keep things moving along. So what these slides are going to cover is how to construct your opportunity listing, which is the CNCS speak for job listing. So when you see the phrase opportunity listing, that's really the posting that you're going to put out to attract applicants to your VISTA position. And then the other word and acronym you're going to be hearing a lot is volunteer or VISTA assignment description. And that's oftentimes referred to as the VAD. So that's the other crucial document that you're going to be constructing, which is basically a job description that gives your VISTA member a really good idea of what they're going to be doing over the course of those 12 months. So you want to have some good detail in there that really helps them understand what the role is. Okay, so first we're going to go over opportunity listings. Like I previously said, it's an advertisement. You're going to be advertising your VISTA position online in the CNCS AmeriCorps eGrants system. Now, that's one place where you absolutely need to post your listing, but then you are welcome and encouraged to post it in many other places. So wherever you've had success finding volunteers in your community, please use those same avenues to post your position opening. And this is where you'll be describing the position to potential applicants, and then they will be applying to your position through the eGrants system. And this, if you're not already familiar with AmeriCorps eGrants, this is a little screen capture of what it looks like from the applicant's perspective. So it's all the same portal. But when a prospective candidate comes into the portal, they come into it through the My AmeriCorps side. And you all, as sub-site supervisors, are handling the administrative stuff from the other side of the portal that we refer to as eGrants. So your candidates will access through a different URL, which you see at the top, the my.americorps.gov URL. And this is how prospective candidates search for opportunities. And the great thing about this database is that it's national. So you can be getting applications from all across the country. And mostly when candidates do search, they search by location. So that's, something that's very important to be aware of when you do get a candidate that's remote as opposed to a local candidate. And another really nice feature about the VISTA program is that they do pay for relocation. So it's not unusual for a candidate to relocate to serve for a year. Now there are some advanced search features in this database, which is also really nice. And the reason it's good for you to know about this is, for example, if you are looking for a candidate who you would like to be bilingual and maybe speak another language, you can put that in your listing. So when they come to search, they might be interested in looking for opportunities where they can, use their language skills. So that's a really great way to make a match with a candidate that has the skills that you're looking for. And then on this next screen, you're also looking at the view that your candidate is going to see. Now, you don't often see this view because when you go in through the eGrants portal side, it's going to look a little different. But your candidates, the first thing they're going to see is a 2-line teaser that you're going to create that describes your Vista position in a grabber, just 2 lines, and you want to really make it enticing. Because if it's not, it's going to get passed over and nobody's going to click on your listing. So really give some thought into what you're going to put into that 2-line teaser. And then once they click on it, they're going to see what you're seeing on the right side of the screen. And that's basically what your job posting looks like to your applicants in the My AmeriCorps portal. So like I said, it's a very brief description of the program. It's a maximum of 200 characters, and it is the first thing your candidate will see. So some of the tips that CNCS gives us is to make sure that you're building emotional connection through this 2-line teaser. And some of the more ones will capture the spirit of adventure, community, self-expression, peace of mind, things that are really going to tap in to the desire of the candidate to really be a part of something bigger than themselves and to want to be in the VISTA program because it is a sacrifice. It is a 12-month sacrifice. So they need to want to do it for a number of reasons that don't include pay because they get very little in their living stipend. So you really want to tap in to that piece of your offering to make sure you're making an emotional connection. And here are a couple of examples. The one on the left is not, I don't think, all that exciting. And then the one on the right is revised a little bit. So it has more of a exciting, grabbing, emotional component. So to develop a sustainable volunteer recruitment and management system for environmental initiatives intended for local, low, moderate income residential communities. That's, pretty flat. It's descriptive, but it's not super exciting. And then on your right, you can see where it's been revised. Our local trash could be a treasured opportunity in your life. Recruit volunteers and develop systems that create a litter-free and environmentally aware place that everyone wants to call home. So actually, they were able to use a little bit of humor, which is nice too. So that's kind of the idea behind your 2-line teaser. And here's another example. I'll let you read that and just to get a sense of how you want to take something that's a pretty straightforward description and make it into something that someone's going to want to click on to get more information. And she has 3 examples. Okay, so plenty of examples to choose from for your 2-line teasers, and just, figure out what works for you. And this will take a little bit of time. I mean, it's not usually something anybody comes up with in 3 to 5 minutes. You might want to put a little thought into that, and that's pretty standard. So actually, you could see on this slide, Stacy's actually saying give yourself maybe 30 minutes to an hour to craft the 2-line teaser. I don't know that it'll actually take anyone an hour, but you really do want to be very deliberate in your word choice because there's a lot of candidates that are going to be coming through the system and they have a lot of choices in here, and you really want to make yours stand out. The best way to make your listing stand out is to be deliberate in how you craft your teaser. So here's some more advice just to make it simple, memorable, make it inviting to look at and fun to read. And then in your opportunity listing is broken down by a number of different sections, which is all the basic W's and the how. Who, what, when, where, why, how. And you'll see that there are character limits. And these are all the sections of the opportunity listing. The member duties, so these are the things that your VISTA member will be working on over those 12 months. The overall program benefits, and we'll get into specifics about that. The terms and conditions of the program, service area, which would be location, skills, these are skills that you're looking for in a candidate, and then basically a little summary of the entire opportunity listing. So some of you I know are already familiar with eGrants, and for many of you, this is new and you haven't created your account, or maybe you've just created it. So this is on the right side of the screen, what it's going to look like from your end. So you can see the colors are different, the format's different from what we saw from the earlier slide. And this webinar is just going to walk you through how you enter your listing online into the system. But you have already received the recruitment guide, so you have all the technical information that you need that'll take you step by step to get this process done. And then later on, if we have time at the end of this webinar, what I can do is share my desktop and go into eGrants live, just so you could get a demo of what that looks like. So for right now, we're just gonna work with these screenshots. So once you have an account, an eGrants account, you access your account and you go to Portal Home. And then all of you are going to be using something called the Recruitment Workbasket. There's not a lot of links on that side to choose from. And that one really stands out because it has the word recruitment in it. That's the one you're going to really be using 100% of the time. So you click on Recruitment Workbasket, which is going to take you to a screen in the center with 3 tabs. And you can see the Service Opportunity tab is in the middle. So you'll click on that, and towards the top of that tab is a link that says Create Opportunity Listing. So that's the order of clicks and links in the system for when you're ready to put this online. And this walks you through how to fill in the fields of your opportunity listing. So you'll see at the top, you put in the project name, and this is a name that you come up with. This is whatever you're calling your Vista project. And then project type, you'll have a drop down of choices, and you'll want to choose AmeriCorps Vista, because this is a Vista program. Then the program code is also a drop down, but you only have one choice, which makes it easy. So you'll choose the program code that's available to you. And then you have the start date for the program and the end date. Unless you have a situation where a Vista member is enrolling, all of your Vista members are going to be starting on the same day. So for the start date, you're going to be putting August 19th, 2019. And then the end date is actually August 17th. I think a couple of materials went out earlier that said 18th. And I recently learned that all of our Vistas who begin on the 19th are ending the following year on August 17th. To factor in the leap year. So that's why it's the difference in days there. But they do serve 365 days. And then for term of service, this is full time. So there's never a part-time with Vista. So that's never an option. And the summer button is only used for summer associates. Which is not what we're talking about today. So these are full-time, full-year Vista members. So just be sure that you're selecting the correct term of service. And then in the contact information area, you put your information. So this is your name, your address, your phone number, your email. Whatever email you put in here will be the email associated with this job listing. And then it'll go on to ask you where you're located. So you pick your state. And then in the next screen is where you plug in your teaser and then your overall program description, which should really be capturing the intent behind what your organization goals are, a little bit about the project and why it will benefit the community. And then the next screen is going to ask you if you're accepting applications. You always say yes. So there's never a reason you would click no in that. You always say yes to accepting now. And then when you're ready to put this listing online, in that first date box where it says accepting applications from, put whatever date it is. So if you're going to put your listing in today, put today's date. If you're going to put your listing in Monday, put Monday's date. And then the deadline should be for everyone July 26th. And that's actually a little over a week past the deadline to turn in your paperwork, but we want to keep all the listings live in case there's any last minute processes that need to be handled in eGrants. And once in a while there are. So you're not actually going to be accepting applications all the way to the 26th, but it allows us the wiggle room to handle last minute processes online. If your application closes and we're not done processing an applicant, then sometimes that can be an issue. So just remember to put in July 26th, even though you're not actually going to take an application that far out.
I have a question. Chris is asking, can you interview candidates before the July 26th deadline?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, that's a great question. You have to interview all your candidates before the July 26th deadline. Yeah, because that deadline is passed when your paperwork is due. You will have selected your VISTA candidate and finished this entire process and turned in all your paperwork by July 19th. That's 26th deadline. The only thing that really does is keep this listing live and active in the system so we need a live listing to complete the processing of your candidate. But you will have long selected your candidate before the 26th. So you need to really make sure that you're interviewing folks in June and in early July so you can make a selection by July 19th. That's a good question. And one of the handouts we'll be sending you is something called an opportunity listing cheat sheet. And it basically just goes over everything I'm telling you right now. So don't feel like you have to, fiercely take notes. All this information is going to be coming out to you in a handout cheat sheet. And this just goes down the list of all the fields you'll be filling out, which we basically just went over. And then the next section will ask you what your member duties are. And this is where you want to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty and try and be as specific and detailed as you can, because this is really going to tell candidates whether or not this is a listing they want to apply to. So think about what the duties are that you expect your VISTA to do throughout the year and be detailed in that description in that box at the bottom. And then you can see you have an option of selecting a language requirement. And you could also select which special skills you'd like your VISTA candidates to have. Okay, so after you, I'm sorry, was there a question?
Yes, one more question. If language is a plus but not a requirement, I think they're speaking to bilingual candidates, where do we list?
Oh, sorry, that's a really good question. If it's a plus and not a requirement for a language, put that in your description. So you could either put it in, let's see, right here, you could put it in your program description here, or you could put it in your member duties. And just say like a language preferred. Sorry. Any more questions? Okay, so once your listing is finished and you've entered it into eGrants, somebody at CNCS is going to review that listing and make it go live. So when you put it in, it's actually not live yet. But that process can take anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. So you just need to be patient. And then we do our best to track what listings are in a waiting status and which ones are live. But it's really ultimately your responsibility to make sure that your listing is live and now available for applicants to see. If your listing is not approved, then we will get back to you and communicate the changes that need to be made. Usually a listing will get denied if you don't have enough detail, or maybe you didn't fill out all the sections, or possibly you put in a wrong date or something like that. All things, being filled out, mostly the reason an opportunity listing gets denied is that you just weren't specific enough in your member duties. So really focus on that.
I have one more question for right now, and you might be getting to this, Debbie. Amanda says, my listing was approved, but I have edited. It is back to pending. Do I need to notify my program officer?
Sorry, I got like something in my throat. Yes, Amanda, that's a good question. Actually, in this case, you notify me and then I'll let CNCS know. So if you're ever going to make edits to a listing, it does default back to a pending status. When you make edits, you'll find that there's a field in there that asks you what was the reason for your edit. So if you filled that out, that lets CNCS know what they're looking for because they previously approved something. So they're just going to want to look at what you changed so they can go ahead and make that live. So if you don't mind, shoot me an email after this just reminding me to let CNCS know that they will need to look at your listing again and make that live. It's a good question. Okay, so notice at the bottom that your opportunity listings should be in eGrants by May 20th. That is your goal to stay on track with this process. So that May 20th deadline is not for summer, that's for your full year vistas. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Vista assignment description, which you're going to hear referred to as the VAD. And that really does serve as a position description in the work plan throughout the 12 months. It details the activities that your VISTA members are going to perform, and you're going to change it each year. So for those of you that might be in your second or third year of the program, you need to have your VAD reflect that. You can't just simply use the same VAD that you had last year. And the VAD is really important. The VISTA member uses that during their orientation, and the VADs get heavily scrutinized by CNCS to make sure that there's no inappropriate activities in the VAD. So really be clear and detailed in your VAD. Make sure that the activities are appropriate, that they're capacity building, and that you have no direct service in your VAD. And we're going to talk about that. So the VAD actually is a tool that you use right now in the recruitment process. Because in that VAD, you'll use that during your outreach, and you'll decide based on what your VISTA member needs to accomplish, what skills and competencies that you're looking for, and is that candidate the right fit? And I also encourage, when you have candidates come in, send your VAD out to them, share it with them so they could look it over either before the interview or before the second interview, or however you're structuring that process. You should be sharing your VAD with your VISTA candidates. And then you're also going to use it throughout the year to assess their performance. So here are the key elements of a VAD. Basically, there's title, there's details. Every VAD has a project goal. Every VAD has objectives that lead into that goal and activities that lead into the objectives. And you're going to want, every VAD is going to have one goal, but all VADs should have more than one objective, a minimum of 2, I would say. And here's a sample of what a good VAD would look like. So at the top of this VAD is basically just all the program information. And then you see the goal at the bottom. Oops, I thought there'd be more on that screen. Okay. And this is what CNCS is looking at when they're assessing your VADs. If your VAD gets rejected, they will put a note in that note column, and it'll tell you why. And then we will follow up with you as much as we can as well. So one of the things we're going to be doing this year is a review of all the VADs on our end once you put them in the system, so we could catch anything that might need changing before CNCS looks at it. So that should help decrease some of the rejections, but I will tell you every year, many VADs do get rejected, simply because you're probably not putting the thought up front into how to construct the VAD. You really need to be careful in your word choice and how you're describing activities, and really keeping in mind the spirit of the program and the fact that your vistas are, helping to build new programs or expanding current programs, but they are not doing staffy assignments. They are not doing administrative assignments. They are not doing direct service. And that's the kind of stuff that CNCS is looking for. So they're looking for a really good, solid objective that identifies what the VISTA is going to achieve. And then they're looking for a detailed list of activities that the VISTA is going to be doing that's going to help achieve that objective. So you do want to be very specific in here. The other thing is you need to have enough information in here so that it's clear to CNCS that there's enough work to cover those 12 months of service for one person. If you don't have enough activities, your VAD could get rejected, and typically the comment is, it can't be determined that this is a full year's worth of work. So, really be sure to be detailed in what you're putting in the VAD. And at the bottom, it actually says not too much information. It shouldn't be overwhelming. I've never seen that. I've never seen a VAD be overwhelming. If anything, it doesn't have enough information. So I would say don't worry too much about that. Really be concerned on the content, the clarity, and the detail that you're putting into the VAD. Okay. So assess, act, transfer, framework for good VADs. I'm not sure what that slide means. We're going to move on. Oh, here we go. It explains it. All right. So a lot of VADs, what they'll do is they'll kind of build in a little bit of the on-site orientation piece into the beginning parts of the VADs. And in the VAD, you could actually state what the performance period is. So for example, maybe for the first 3 to 4 weeks that the VISTA's on board, that's going to be the assess period. That's when they're going to be identifying the key players. They'll be exposed to the historical environment and engaged with the community. So there's always a ramp-up period, and depending on the project and what stage you are in the project, that could be anywhere from a month to 3 months. It really just depends. But you need to make sure that you're building activities and assignments into that first part of the VAD that gets your VISTA member up to speed with what they're going to be doing. So a lot of that is just kind of an introductory, I would say. For example, on here it says review of current literature. So that's a very common thing that we'll see in VADs. It's just getting your VISTA member educated and acclimated to the project, the players, the staff, the community, and so on, stakeholders. And then usually the next objective in the VAD will be the ACT piece. So creation of tools and processes. And then it goes on to give you some examples of what those activities could look like. So compile data into an action plan, develop and implement the action plan, develop educational materials for distribution. So you could see that all of these activities are capacity building.
I just have one thing to add there. The language that you choose in this section is important to give the reviewer and CNCS the notion that it is capacity building work. So oftentimes something that we see is VADs that have these action activities worded as VISTA member will assist with compiling data, VISTA member will help a certain staff person to develop. And that gives us the impression that the VISTA is serving in an assistant role, which is not appropriate for a VISTA member. So you can see on the slide here how action words are going to be really important in this section. So compile, develop, assess, those types of words.
Thanks, Charlotte. That's exactly right. And then usually the later objectives in your VAD have to do with the transfer piece. So transfer of knowledge, products, relationships. You need to have something built into the VAD that addresses how the work is going to be transferred on to, and then that could be the next VISTA. If you're at the end of your program cycle, that could be staff, that could be volunteers, that could be partners, but there should be a transfer element in one of the objectives in your VAD, usually towards the end, because now you're wrapping up. And you could be just wrapping up that one program year, or you could be wrapping up the whole project. Typically, transfer activities involve training staff on new processes and protocols, which is very common. So that's something you definitely want to build in to the VAD. That's something that CNCS is going to be looking for. And then this piece covers performance management. You absolutely need to be scheduling regular meetings with your VISTA member. I would say the best practice is once a week. Some sites might do once every 2 weeks once the VISTA member has been acclimated, and if it's the kind of member that doesn't need, too much managing day to day, but you're really going to need to decide that once you have your person on board, and then manage that individual and make sure that you're providing them with all the necessary tools and guidance that you can so they could be successful in the position. And this screenshot shows you what it looks like when you access eGrants and you're ready to put your VAD in here. And actually, let me see here. This is the screenshot, actually, is the one you want to look at. You'll be clicking on the recruitment work basket. You'll see the 3 tabs at the top, and the VAD tab is on your far right. And then you'll see a link that says create new VAD. When all of you go in, that link is actually going to be more towards the bottom of the screen, so you'll have to scroll a little bit. When you go into it, you'll actually see some VADs that are already in there. So you can just scroll past the VADs that are in there and click on the Create New VAD link, which is going to show up more towards the bottom of your screen. And then you'll see the template that comes up for you to fill out. So these gives you all the fields that you'll be filling out for the VAD. And then you'll see some have an asterisk where they are required. And I think most of the fields are required. And this is the information that we've already sent out to you that you'll need to have on hand when you're ready to create your VAD and put that into the system. And I get this question a lot. People see the project period going from 2018 to 2019 with the end date of August 17, 2019. Don't worry about that. That date is correct. Those dates actually align with the grant period that NeighborWorks America has with CNCS. But once our grant renews, those dates will change. So don't worry about that project period. That actually pertains more to the administrative stuff between CNCS and NeighborWorks America. So you'll see at the top, the sponsoring organization is us, and we use our legal name here, which is Neighborhood Reinvestment Corporation. We have our project number that should auto-populate. The project period should auto-populate. So really the only thing that you're filling in is your organization name. And then once you're done entering your VAD into the system, it'll go into a pending status. On the right, you see pending. And you can continue to make edits when it's in that status because basically you've just saved it, but you haven't necessarily submitted it. And this screen really talks about if you're going to a copy of existing VAD, which isn't going to be the case for most of you. So I won't get into that piece. All of you are going to be entering a VAD from scratch or new. Yeah, there's not going to be a case where you'll copy an existing VAD, but if for some reason you think that might apply to you, just let me know, but it's not going to be the case for most of you. And then you'll see on the right, once CNCS has looked at your VAD and approved it under the status column, you'll see sample VAD number 2 approved, and then you're done. There's nothing else to do with that. And then in the next example, sample VAD number 1 is rejected. So in that case, you'll have to click into your VAD, see why it was rejected, and then edit it following the comments that CNCS gives you. And here is where they'll put their notes. They tell you when your VAD was rejected and they tell you why right on this section of the screen. So when you see that, you'll have an opportunity to edit your VAD and then resubmit it. Once you resubmit it, you need to keep an eye on the status again to make sure that it gets approved. And this is just showing you the edit link that would appear if you need to make any edits. If you're not already familiar with Vista Campus, wow, this is kind of pops up out of nowhere. This is what it looks like. This is actually a website designed specifically for Vista members and supervisors. So it's not just for members. There's actually a lot of information and resources and tools on here for supervisors as well. So if you haven't already created an account on Vista Campus, I would encourage you to do so. This is actually more for resources and information. So I wouldn't say it's absolutely vital, but it's the kind of thing you're going to want access to during the course of the program year. And there might be times where you have a question and it's just easy to go right here and find the answer instead of sending us an email or a phone call, although we're welcome to take your emails and phone calls. But if you're kind of the person that just wants to look stuff up yourself, this is the place to go. Okay, and that's the end of Stacy's PowerPoint. Let's stop for just 1 second and see if we have any questions. And then what I'll do is open up eGrants and show you a live demo.
So we do have the question, will we get copies of the presentation afterwards? Yes.
Yes, you will get copies of the presentation. And like I said, I'll see if Stacy's available anytime in the next couple of weeks. And that way you could also get the CNCS version of this presentation as well. She just had technical difficulties and wasn't able to hop on the call today.
Okay, here's a question. Does only CNCS have access to the VADs that we submit through eGrants? Vistas will not be able to see the VAD when they click on the position. We have to provide them separately to the Vistas, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Vistas do not see the VAD when they click on the position. It's your choice whether or not you want to send the VAD to your Vista candidate. I encourage you to do so. I think that should be part of the recruiting process. But once your Vista has been selected, yeah, then they will need a copy of the VAD to go through their orientation. And then, of course, after that, that VAD will be connected to their Vista account online, and they'll always have access to it. Okay, any more questions? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I'll give you a quick little live demo of what you're all going to be doing. So this is what eGrants looks like, and this is my login. You'll have your own. If you have used it in the past and you forgot your password, click on Forget Your Password link. I do not have access to passwords, so I won't be able to help you with that. But that I am told that link is functional and working, so if you forgot it, please use it. And then at the bottom, you'll see Contact Help Desk down here. That's actually an online form and or a phone number that goes to the eGrants Help Desk. If you're ever having problems with eGrants, you want to click that link at the bottom and get help. This is a CNCS database. This is not a NeighborWorks database. So I have limited control and access to help you in the system. So my screen has a few more links in it than yours is going to have because I have a different level of access, but all of you are going to have this portal home link. And this is the one and only link you're going to be using the entire time. So you click on here, and then you'll be using this recruitment work basket link. Now on the left-hand side, you see a lot of links. You're probably going to see 4 or 5. You're just not going to have as many links that you're seeing on my screen. But you're always going to be going into recruitment work basket on the left. And then across the top, you see these 3 tabs.
I'm going to break in just for a second with a question. How many org members can have eGrants access?
Technically, as many as you need can have access, but I would only give access to the ones that are going to be using it. So on average, every subsite has at least 1 member that has eGrants access, but you might have 2. It just depends on how many supervisors you have.
But everyone needs their own login, correct?
Everyone needs their own login. Yeah, you should not be sharing eGrants accounts. So when you go into the screen, you're going to be using the Service Opportunity tab and the VAD tab. So here's the Service Opportunity. And here at the top is where you create it. And this is the form that you fill out that we showed you earlier in the PowerPoint. And you can see yes, you always want that to be yes, your listing's live. You put in the name of your project. You always select AmeriCorps Vista. And you can see there's only one choice for program code. And then you put in your start date, and you need to follow that format. And then the end date, if you missed it from before, is going to be August 17th. If your Vista member starts on the 19th. And this is always full-time. Term of service is always full-time. You put in your contact information, you select your state, and then if you see your metropolitan area in this drop-down, you select it, but if you don't see it, you leave it blank. So if you want to hang tight real quick, I can't advance unless I fill these out because they are required fields. So I'll go ahead and do that. I know this part isn't exciting, but I'll just do it real quick. Okay. Let's see, if I was looking for a VISTA member, I would select District of Columbia, Washington, Baltimore is the region. And then it's going to require you to put in your 4-digit zip extension, which, usually it tells you what it is. It's not telling me. I don't think I know it off the top of my head.
I don't either. I'm going to break in with a question since we're at a stopping point here. If we have 2 vistas with 2 roles and 2 supervisors, I assume each of us does this separately, and I think they're referring to creating a VAD and accessing e-grants.
That's up to you. Yes, I think it's easiest if you have 2 supervisors and 2 very distinct VISTA assignments. Then yeah, it would be best if you have 2 e-grants accounts, so each supervisor can handle the administrative work for their prospective VISTA. If you only had 1 e-grants account, you'd be in a situation where you'd be forced to share, which is something that CNCS does not want you to do, or you would have to put the burden on 1 supervisor to handle both administrative duties, which would be the VADs and service opportunities for both assignments. So, I mean, you do have some choice there, but I think the easiest would just to have 2 e-grants logins, 1 for each supervisor. They're very different. I'm going to go back to the recruitment work basket and not continue on with that because I don't want to take up any of your time, and I don't have our 4-digit extension on hand at the moment. So I'm going to pop in, well, actually before I pop in here, I want to just show you what it looks like when your service opportunity is approved. You'll see the status here. All these have been approved. And you want to be careful not to click on any of these buttons here. If you were to hit the edit button, that automatically takes the service opportunity listing down. And you're going to be able to see everybody's service listings because we're all in the same NeighborWorks America project. So be really careful just to click on your own. You don't want to accidentally click on someone else's listing and bring it down. But whenever you hit edit, it defaults back into a pending status and is no longer live. So that means potential applicants cannot see your listing. If you have to make an edit, that's fine. You can go ahead and do that. Just make sure that you let me know so then I could let CNCS know that your VAD went back to pending, or your service listing went back to pending, and they will need to make it go live again. So just be careful when hitting these buttons. You could actually view a listing or be meaning to view it and accidentally hit edit. And you see they're very close to each other, so just be careful about that. So I'll just show you like what that looks like. This is actually our leader listing. So say I just want to take a look at it. It's all done and I want to see what it looks like. And I'm looking at it through the e-grants side of the portal, not the AmeriCorps side, but it looks very, very similar. This is basically what your candidates are seeing. And that's what the listing looks like. So you can see we put in a nice, meaty service description here for our leader description. I have lots of different member duties that our leader performs. I list all the program benefits. And in that recruitment guide, we tell you exactly which program benefits to select because some of them are ones that come with the VISTA program. And then others, you might have additional benefits that you are planning to offer to your VISTA member. Maybe you're going to offer a transportation stipend. Maybe you're going to offer a housing stipend. You can go ahead and add that in there. These are the service areas that I've selected. These are the skills that I selected. So that's what our listing looks like. Now I'm going to hop over to the VAD tab. So when you're ready, you're going to come to the VAD tab. And like I said, you're going to have to scroll all the way to the bottom here, and there's the link. So these are all VADs that are in the system now that have been approved. But in order to create a new VAD, the link is at the bottom. And this is what the template looks like, and these are the fields that you'll be filling out for the VAD. So like I mentioned, you only have one choice here, which makes it easy. That's our project period. This is the title you put in. You're not going to copy an existing VAD, so you could skip that. This is the name of your organization. Here you select your primary focus area. For the most part, it's going to be economic opportunity. That's pretty much what everybody falls into. Don't select capacity building. VADs are inherently capacity building. So you're going to select economic opportunity. And then if you'd like to go for an additional focus area, you can. You don't have to fill that out. And then this is where you type your goal, your project goal. This is your Vista project goal. Here's where you put your performance period. So make sure that the period of performance aligns with the objective. Not every objective is going to take the full 12 months. Your first objective might just be the first 3 months. So make sure that you are explicit in that in your performance period. And then, like I said, you want at least 2 objectives. Whenever CNCS sees a VAD that has 1 objective, that's almost always rejected. It's just not laid out nicely, or it's not enough work, it's not specific enough. So your first objective goes here. And then down below is where you type your member activities. And it's really easiest if you just number them. For formatting purposes, it's just much easier to read. And then when you're ready, you could either add a new objective or even a new activity box. If you, another thing you could do is you could put 1 activity here, and instead of numbering them, you could use the next box. And this is kind of like your second one. And then go about it that way. And then new objective. And then you'll just see like it keeps adding boxes as you go along. Now at this point, if you hit save, it simply saves your VAD. It does not submit it. It goes into a pending status and you can come back later and make edits. CNCS cannot see it. They don't even know it's there. They're not looking for it. It's just saved for you. When you're done though, you want to hit save and submit. As soon as you do that, it submits your VAD to CNCS and you can't make edits. The only thing that CNCS can do at that point is accept it or reject it. Those are the 2 options. So that's the difference between save, just saves it, does not submit. You still have options to make edits. And then save it, submit. There are no edits. You just submit as is, and you're waiting to see if it's approved or rejected. And that's how that works. So I'm going to go back to the recruitment work basket. This is the link you're going to keep coming back to. And you're always going to be using these 2 tabs, service opportunity and VADs. And then the next thing that we'll cover, because I just don't want to overwhelm you with too much information in one session, is going to be more of the member selection process, like how you use the system to look at applications and then process those applications, select applications. That's a whole nother step. And it's really not complicated, but it is something that would be very helpful for you to see ahead of time. So when you get to that point in your recruitment, you know what you're doing, you know what to expect, it'll look familiar to you. And like I said, all that information is already laid out in that recruitment guide that you received. And that guide has very detailed step-by-step action items in there and screenshots. So I would keep that handy. It's pretty big. I'm not going to advise that you print it out, but keep it handy so you could refer to it while you're working in eGrants. So let's pause for a second and see if we have any more questions. Okay. All right, so we did record the webinar and we will be sending out the recording and we will be sending out the PowerPoint slides. And then I'm also going to be sending out that cheat sheet that I referred to earlier that talks about how to put your opportunity listing together. So there's going to be plenty of resources for you to refer to. But, you know, also we're here for you too. You can call or email us with any questions. Don't feel like you have to solely rely on resources and guides. You know, if you want to chat, you have a question, please don't hesitate to call, especially if you're brand new to this. It can seem overwhelming at first, and we understand that. And really the onus and responsibility is 100% on your shoulders to do all the recruiting over these next several weeks. So it's a big responsibility. You definitely want to do your due diligence, put the time and effort into it up front, because if you do that, you will get a strong applicant pool, and then you'll have plenty of good candidates to choose from. So, you know, the hardest decision you'll have to make will be to decide between a number of strong candidates. That's the position we want to see all of you in, and we will help you get there. So, like I said, as you have questions, please reach out and ask. No questions. Okay. Well, thank you all for your time. I'm sorry we weren't able to get Stacy on the line today, but we'll give this another shot at some point. And I hope you all have a great weekend. It's a Friday, so I appreciate your time. And we're here when you need us, and you'll be hearing from us via email. Thanks, guys.